Hi, welcome. This is a short yin sequence that is designed to open up your shoulder joint and your upper back. If you have available 2 blocks, if you don't have 2 blocks, you'll be fine. And if you have available to you two, pillows that go on your bed, find those, or a bolster if you have a bolster. And if you don't have these, you'll be okay too. But if you could grab them, it would be better. Now, we'll put those off to the side. Come into a comfortable seated position. So you could sit cross-legged, or, sometimes when you sit cross-legged, the knees go kind of up like this. Sit on top of the pillows. 1 or 2 pillows. Usually people say that it's good to have the knees below the line of the hips. So following that advice, I'll sit on top of 2 pillows. So you can see. This probably opens up the, blood flow to the legs. So take a moment to close your eyes and come into your physical body. Feel the gentle flow of your breath in and out of your nose. If it feels good to you to deepen your breath, make your breath a little longer and a little fuller. If it seems stressful to influence your breathing, don't worry about it. Just breathe normally. Our first yin pose, we're going to hold this pose for 1.5 minutes. I'm going to set a timer, and basically with shoulder yin, you want to hold it a little less time than you would hip yin because it's a smaller, more sensitive joint. But if you end up doing this on your own and you feel safe doing it for longer, then go ahead. Okay. So, reach your right arm out to the right. And you might already feel a stretch through your right arm. Begin to tip your head to the left, ear towards shoulder. Just go as far as feels okay for you. So we'll be here for 1.5 minutes. You can stay like this, right? You might feel a stretch somewhere in the neck, somewhere in the shoulder. You can also take your left hand and just very gently let the weight of the left hand rest on the head to increase the stretch. If you feel like the place you're stretching right now is the place that needs the stretch the most, you stay where you are. For me, I know my tension is more behind my shoulder blade, so I draw my chin towards my chest, and I can kind of feel that spot that needs some extra love. You can do yin yoga with the eyes open, or you can close your eyes. Closing the eyes is a little more in line with yin energy, as yin, a quality of yin is darkness. Feel free to stay here a little longer if you need. Otherwise, in slow motion, lift the head up into the center and bring the arms down, and you can feel the difference between your 2 sides. And what you might notice is that the energy dissipates, it equalizes, and you're ready for the next side. reach your left arm out to the left as far as it'll go, and tip the head over to the right. And again, you can use the hand on the head, and you can also tip the head a little forward to feel the stretch go more behind the neck. So we'll be here for a minute and a half. If you're like, I'm not really getting a stretch in this pose, reach a little further out with your extended arm. So the left arm reaches. There's a little bit of effort in this pose. Not a ton of effort, but just slightly. I find my mind is less distracted if I take long and deep breaths. It's normal for your mind to wander out of your body. And when you notice that it's doing that, you could call your mind back into the body, feeling the stretch, feeling your breath, connecting to just this moment. You can stay a little longer. Otherwise, slowly tip the head up, relax the arms down, and take a moment to rest your arms. So there's going to be two options for this next one. Also, if you're sitting cross-legged, feel free to switch across the leg. So option one is you're going to take your right hand and touch your back and then hold on to your right elbow with the left hand to stretch your tricep right in the armpit. Or you can come into a child's pose. So sitting back at your heels, arms out long, and then maybe the palms touch. And you can also do this with the bricks under your elbows. And some folks, you know, if it feels really easy, it feels safe, you can do with, you know, the bricks on a higher setting. I'll stay in the upright variation. So we'll do a minute and a half for each tricep, or 3 minutes in the child's pose variation. If at any time you need to come out, don't be shy to come out. Okay, so the minute and a half starts now. It takes a minute and a half for the connective tissue, the fascia, to begin to produce a hyaluronic acid which attracts water to it. So in Yin Yoga, you're rehydrating your tissues. And that's sort of the scientific idea behind it. And then the philosophical idea behind Yin Yoga is that you're taking your time to slow down, to be in a pose for a minute and a half to 3 minutes. Some of the poses you can hold 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And it's this willingness towards exploration and also a sensitivity towards yourself. If you're stretching one tricep, go ahead and switch sides. The other way yin yoga can work is it works with blood flow. So for example, if you're in the sitting up variation, the blood is draining from the arm overhead down into the body. And we still have a minute in this pose, but after we finish that minute and we put the arms down, you're going to feel the blood rush back into your arms. So there's this sort of flushing effect that happens. And if you're in child's pose, there's a lot of compression happening through the hips. So when you come out, you might feel the blood run back into the legs. And there's this idea that when you kind of squeeze blood out of a certain area of the body and then you let it run back in, it has this sort of flushing effect, almost like a wave that comes up on the shore and it drags things out to sea and has this kind of like carries out the toxins. Okay, so if you're happy where you are, stay. And if you're ready to come out, if you're sitting up, just relax the arms down. And if you're in child's pose, feel free to come to laying on your belly or laying on your back. And take a moment just to observe how the last pose affected your body. Where are you lit up right now with sensation? A lot of times also our minds are thinking, what's next? And it's good, or the practice of yoga offers us the chance to recognize that we're always trying to do what's next and instead just kind of sink into the moment. So right now, all of us connected by this video are doing absolutely nothing. Of course, it's the nature, right? Nature is always doing something, even if it looks like it's doing nothing. So we'll continue on. We'll do 2 more stretches. So this was a short practice. The next one, if you'd like to continue doing this seated, you're going to take your right arm under your left arm, eagle wrap the arms. Or if that's too intense for the body, you can stretch the right arm across your over your chest like this. That's an option too. Feel free also when we get to the halfway point to switch the cross of your legs if you're continuing to be seated. Otherwise, come up into the all fours position and take your right arm under your left arm. So this is the needle pose, or in yin you call this rolling panda. And so we'll do a minute and a half on each side. So either you can take eagle arms for a minute and a half with the right arm under, you can stretch the outside edge of the right arm in this shoulder stretch like this, or rolling panda. And I'll go ahead and do the eagle arms. So a minute and a half. And also those of you doing eagle arms, you can explore lifting the elbows up or hinging forward. That's going to turn it into maybe a hip stretch if you're sitting cross-legged. Those of you in rolling panda, if you don't feel a stretch, see if you can reach a little further with the right arm, right? So you kind of like lift up, reach a little further, and then roll back. Also, you know, sometimes I see people roll over. That's why they call it rolling panda. Because if you like get too crazy, you'll end up rolling onto your back. So what I do is I separate my knees and bring the knees a little wider. And that can provide a sort of traction so you don't roll over. Also, eagle arms, if it feels okay on your neck, you can tuck your chin into your chest, and sometimes that gets that spot below the shoulder blade. This must be like a chaturanga shoulder or something like that. I always get this tension right under my shoulder blade. All right, feel free to stay where you are. Otherwise, gently, you're gonna change your sides. Those of you sitting cross-legged, you can switch across the legs, right? Thread the needle, left arm goes under, and left arm goes under the right. Eagle the arms. Or too tight, don't worry, pull your arm across above the chest. 1 minute and a half. There's many layers to the practice of yoga, and right now we're working with the most tangible layer of the yoga practice, your physical body. And your physical body is a bridge to your mind. So, for example, when you get stressed in the mind, the shoulders are going to tighten up, right? But at the same time, you can stretch your shoulders and maybe it will help to relax your mind. I don't know, you have to try it and see. I know it works for me. Especially with those fresh breaths. Feel free to stay a little longer. Sometimes this is the most healing pose in the world. When you've had enough, rest, either in seated meditation, feel free to lay on your back or your side. Cat-cow cycles might feel good. And just notice the difference in your shoulders and any difference in the way your neck feels. Okay, the last pose, and I'll give 2 options. So option 1 is you can take your 2 pillows and find a butterfly pose and lay over it like this. So there's a back bend in the upper spine and then a stretch across the front of the shoulder. Also, I don't know, you could see my head sort of hanging off the back of my pillows, and it's putting me in a pretty intense back bend. So if I don't want the back bend to be that intense, then I can scooch down so my head is supported on the pillows. So here's an option. And then the other option, which is a little more intense of a shoulder stretch, you lay on your stomach, put your right arm out to the right, take your left hand and roll yourself over. Left foot steps behind you. And then some folks like to put both feet up. That's pretty intense. If it's too much, you can have your legs just stacked side by side. So, they call this open wing. Also, if you have a wall or a bed, you can do this against something, or like a chair, right? You can stretch against it. Um, I'll do the open wing variation, and we'll switch sides after a minute and a half. If you're doing open wing and you want to stretch both shoulders at once, you could tuck your left arm behind you. Relax any unnecessary muscular tension. You can stay a little longer. If you're doing a two-sided stretch, then gently pass through the middle and switch your sides. A minute and a half on the second side. Sometimes if the yin pose feels really intense, you can decide to back out of it a little bit. If it seems unsafe, come out. But if it seems like it's healing, then maybe you just try to relax into the intensity. Take as much time as you need. And if you're laying on your back on the bolsters, you're probably pretty happy where you are. You could stay there for a Shavasana. If you were taking the shoulder stretch variation open wing pose, go ahead and put the palms up by your sides and turn one cheek to the side. And if you're laying on the bolster and you feel like you'd want to turn your head to one side, you could. So this is like a very passive neck stretch. And wherever you are, breathe into your belly and feel how it influences your low back. Turn your head the other way so you get an equal neck stretch. If you want to stay longer, you totally can. When you're ready to come out, you roll onto one side or push yourself up and find a comfortable cross-legged seat. Hands can be on your lap, palms down or palms up, and then just take a moment to observe the difference of how you feel in your body, and in particular, how your shoulders might feel different and your chest. Bring your hands to your heart and gently bow your forehead. Thank yourself for taking this time out of your day to alleviate a little bit of tension in the upper body and to treat yourself well with some nourishing movements. Thank you, yogis. Have a great rest of your day.